ayes have it.
Hello and welcome to the program. I am Dennis at Louis. The fallout of the recent political party primaries is still very much evident as the season of elections continues to gather pace. And for these legislators, the issues are clear when it comes to defections from one party to another.
We just had the primaries, a lot of, let's say, disappointed legislators. We saw a lot of shifting from party to party after the primaries. What does this say to you about political party ideology?
Well,
ABC, PDP and other parties?
I don't believe in that. I believe in political party ideology. I believe in consistency. I also believe in integrity. Let me tell you, from 97, from 98, 99 to date, I've been a PDP member. I've never left one day. One day. Not that it's been rosy. It doesn't matter. You must believe in a thing. You see, I'm not a bread and butter politician. Most of these politicians who jump from one place to the other, I look at them as bread and butter politicians. So if your bread is not buttered here, you look for where. That does not build trust. You must stay. Even if there are things, if there are issues, stay inside and resolve them. So what I'm saying is that in as much as I fight against the turnover in the parliament, the turnover is so much every year. You have casualties. It shouldn't be so. But that is a different matter. But because you didn't get ticket, you jumped to. So how many places will you jump to? And who told you that in the next political party you're going to get their ticket? I mean, you don't build a house and be part of its destruction. If you build a house, remain there. There could be cracks, there could be dilapidation. But you stay there and renovate them and put them together. But jumping out for me is not the best option. And I use myself as an example. I've been in. There was a time my state, Abia State, the entire state almost became a PPA. I remained. They went to Abga. I remained. They came back and met me in PDP. Here I am. Today, the state Abia is PDP, is a PDP state. Do you get what I'm saying? But most of them had gone around from PDP to PPA, PPA to Abga, Abga back to PDP. I even hear some of them now moving to is it some another party, action part, whatever. Is it PPA or whatever? I don't know what. So you most times you use it also to text the character of human beings. And I think there should be an ideology. There should be a political ideology. There will be something a party should be known for. Either you're to the right or to the left, progressive, capitalist, or what do you call it? Conservative, capitalist, progressive, and all that. So I think maybe gradually we'll get back to that. But so far, it's unfortunate that most people in politics are not in politics for what they want to contribute. They are not in politics for development. They are in politics for self-aggrandizement, self-interest. Because if not, I don't see why when you get to a certain level in a political party, the party that had built you, made you famous, the party that had thrown you up. Because in Nigeria we have no independent candidacy. No. The party had been the port, the driving force, the vehicle by which you got to where you got to. Then after so many years, because party did not give you ticket, you now jump ship. I don't support that. I'm also not saying that the party leadership in most cases have done very well. No. So most political parties have actually not done very well in terms of internal management of internal democracy. That is there, is given. Almost all the political parties, because they are the same people running around. The same people. You run away from here, you go and meet the man at the other end, you think you've left him, he will also come and meet you. So what I'm saying is that, for me, I'm not saying that the parties have actually done well in terms of internal democracy, but all the same, if you keep running, you become a rolling stone that gathers no moss. And we must change that habit and, try to know what are the reasons why are we in politics in the first place. And the first reason, as far as I'm concerned, is for God to use you to bring peace, development, prosperity in the entire country, and unite the country so that there will be peace.
It has been the ritual in the last 22 years since the return of democracy in this country. Each time an election season is at hand, there are bound to be defections from senators and members of House of Reps who lost out in the primaries. Whoever you see find himself in the National Assembly must have been a product of a certain political calculation from his own constituency, from his own senatorial district or federal House of Reps district. So it is the domestic calculations that leads to what you see, defection. If you lose your party ticket, you have two options. One is either to remain within your party and wait for another season for which you will contest, or secondly is to change political party. And smaller parties usually present themselves to candidates whenever people lose their senatorial or House of Reps or state assembly tickets. And if you are a good student of Nigeria's political evolution, you will see that the political parties differ from each other only in the nomenclature, the names of the party, or the alphabetical arrangements of the party. And sometimes when people go to register a party, they try to make sure that there is a letter A there, so that you'll be on the top of the ballot paper, or letter Z, so that you'll be below, which will be easier for people to vote for you. If there's a party called A party, you would like to name your own AA or AAA party, so that you'll be at the top side. But in this aspect, all the political parties in Nigeria are not ideologically based. In the UK, when you say a Labour Party, you know its roots and its history. Conservative Party, the Liberal Democratic Party, the UK Independent Party, and the Scottish National Party. All these parties have roots, have history, and have a defined ideological direction and agenda. And when you go to the United States, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party also have their own base roots and history. Go to a place like Brazil, you have the Marxist Party, the Workers' Socialist Party, the Conservative Party, all of them aligned to a certain ideology, either from the left or from the right. In some countries even, like in Iran, you have some parties that are ideologically based on their religious doctrine. But in the case of Nigeria, just pick any of the constitution and manifesto of the party. You will see that the differences may be the pagination or the language, but it is all the same. So political parties are more or less vehicles that people ride on for political power, and there is virtually no difference in. That's why it is easier for people to move from one camp to another. If you look at the history of some parties in other countries, you become a member of the political party right from when you are a kid. You grow there, and it will be difficult for you to change, because all your life you have been indoctrinated, you have been trained, you have been shaped and modeled according to the ideology of that party. So this has been the case in other countries. So in here, people can be in one party in the daytime, in the afternoon they are in another, in the evening they have changed to another party. It is simply about registering in your ward, submitting your own identity card, party membership card, and picking another one. So it's as simple as that. So it's so easy. But the Electoral Act need to have addressed this issue very clearly, because even defections in the National Assembly is against the Electoral Act, is against Nigeria's constitution. As a legislature, whether a senator or member House of Reps, you cannot defect from one party to another. But since after the Tambol issue and later the Saraki, so almost it has simply become normal to do things illegally, and we all exploited that, because it was expected that if you resign from your party as a legislature, you're supposed to also leave the National Assembly. But that is not the case here. And it has reached a point today where people just write letters to either the Senate President or the Speaker and announce that they have defected and nothing happens. So if you see any consequences for that, then someone must have gone to court against that person who defected. So in this respect, I believe that the Electoral Act should simply adapt itself to reality. You can say that whoever wins an election under a political party and goes to represent his party in the National Assembly cannot defect until after 3 years in the National Assembly, or 3.5 years. Then if you do that, you have normalized things. At least people know that this is normal. But what is going on now is simply a precedent that has been set, which is not in our laws.
The recent Kuje prison break remains a talking point among Nigerians, and Senator representing Benue Northwest Emmanuel Okajev gives his take on the whole sorry saga.
The Senate leadership did an oversight, shall we say, some days ago, and discovered some major lapses in terms of CCTV, for instance. Just give us your take on how this daring operation could have been carried out without much resistance from the...
You see, this again, once again, drives from the point that we're not secured as a nation. Okay? It forcefully pushes that point to the fore. Again, like the leadership of the Senate President said, I mean, in today's Nigeria, in a major facility like that, you don't have CCTV camera. If you go to a place like United Arab Emirates, every business, no matter how small you are expected by law to have the CCTV camera so that if anything goes wrong, it will not be difficult to dictate and find out what exactly happened. A major facility like the prison, it wasn't there. So there are a lot of things that went wrong or are wrong with what our systems that led to that. So it brings home very forcefully the fact that we are not secure. Okay, this administration keeps talking about Boko Haram has been technically defeated. When every inch of Nigeria now is insecure, it speaks volumes about the nature of the insecurity that we have today. And so it means we have to bring back all hands on deck to ensure that this kind of thing does not repeat itself. But knowing how we do, because after this there will be condemnation in several quarters, and then we'll go back to living our normal lives. That cannot bring any improvement. It can't.
The general consensus among Nigerians is that the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC and its conduct of elections is making commendable progress. This is against the backdrop of off-season elections in Nigeria and preparations for the 2023 general elections.
Well, in all fairness to INEC, I think after every election they go back to the drawing board and try to see where they went wrong, some of the things that they observed that could be improved upon, and they work on that. I've been noticing that in the elections that they've been holding. After each election, if there are criticisms, you notice that the Ekiti election was better than the Anambra election. So going by that trajectory, I'm guessing that we'll have a better election in the Osun election than what we had previously. So they will factor in the amended Electoral Act, and I hope and I pray that they don't relapse, they don't disappoint Nigerians in their expectations, because the big picture is coming next year. So if they failed in the coming elections, Nigerians will begin to wonder whether that is a precursor to what will happen next year.
Let me say that so far, INEC has done well. They are complying with rules and regulations, especially with the Constitution and the Electoral Act so far. Most of the innovations are built in the new Electoral Act, and they are trying most of them, especially the electronic voting and the transmission of results, which actually is novel and is noble too. So for me, it's a good thing. It will help us to reduce acrimony, reduce crisis, reduce thuggery and all that. You can see the Ekiti one wasn't that bad, and I believe that in Osun, INEC will use their experience in Ekiti to improve the Osun case, and going forward I believe that there will be improvement. So what I'm saying is that yes, you can't rule out human factors, no gainsaying the fact, but so far so good. Is what we've seen so far definitely is far better than what it was or what it has been. So I encourage INEC to do more. Yes, you have started well, but do more. Conclude, especially when we go into the main election, because these ones are trial elections too, to say you move everything, you take everything to Osun, to Ekiti. It's a one-state election, but where we properly assess them is at the general election, when you have 20, 30 states doing election the same day and the same time. So, but I have no doubt in my mind that with what I've seen, that Mahmoud and his group are up to it.
Well, so far, Professor Yakubu has been doing a good job, in the sense that you can have a perfect election anywhere in the world. But so far, from the elections that has occurred in Ekiti, the problems is more with the politicians than with INEC. There are things INEC cannot control. And what are those things? And that is how the politicians exploit that lacuna. What are those things INEC cannot control? INEC cannot control the tragedy of vote buying. Politicians stash a lot of cash in their homes weeks before elections, and they share money to electorates, share fabrics, share food items, and they get the votes. INEC is only concerned about conducting elections, counting votes, and announcing the winner, and issuing certificate to whoever wins that election. Also, they register political party and they register. There are all those things here. But I believe that we need a separate institution that is majorly or principally concerned about electoral finances. How much politicians spend on elections, and how that money is being spent and who is given that money. They monitor and follow the cash, and also being given the mandate to prosecute the system of paying delegates or paying electors to vote. These are very important aspects of our electoral system if we are going to achieve some level of perfection. So the Ekiti election has come and gone, and you see politicians more blame each other than blame INEC. And I believe the Osun election should also be done in that spirit.
All right, lastly, distinguished, give us your assessment of the 9th Senate last 3 years.
Well, the 9th Senate, every Senate has its own identity. And the identity of our Senate in the 8th National Assembly was that we have been seen to be combative, belligerent, and confrontational to the executive. But under the 9th National Assembly, they are being seen to be in bed with the executive in almost everything. And now they acquired for their identity as a rubber stamp. But in as much as the National Assembly is expected to work closely with the executive, it is also important that it protect and defend its independence and the sanctity of that institution. You may have a good president today. The only institution that can checkmate him is National Assembly. And if you have a bad National Assembly, the only institution that can is judiciary and the executive. So where you have a National Assembly that is compliant, complicit, submissive, and subservient, then you have created an enabling environment for dictatorship in the future. It doesn't matter who is going to be there, but we need a National Assembly that can say no, and that can disapprove, and that can disagree. It's very important. So that aspect of it. But for this National Assembly, there are some areas which they have achieved. The Electoral Act, they have been able to achieve because the president has been able to live up to them. We did it at that time, he couldn't sign. And the Petroleum Industry Bill is also another aspect of a bill which they have been able to bring that jinx. But in other areas, what I have not seen is the need to scrutinize loan requests from both the states and federal government. Another aspect which they have failed is the issue of security in the country. They have not been able to hold the heads of security agencies to serious account. What I know is that the president has released all the amount of money needed by security agencies. Over 4.2 trillion has been spent. So if he has released such amount of money, who's supposed to monitor how that money is being spent? It's the National Assembly. If you don't monitor what is spent in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the police, the civil defense and other agencies of government, then it is your own responsibility. You have failed. So the areas they have achieved and where they have failed are very clear. But the most important area, which I believe that the next National Assembly should be able to rescue, is the image of National Assembly. Because so far, heads of agencies have lost respect for the National Assembly, where they come in invited, and instead of them to do what is constitutionally obliged them to do, they come in being hostile even to members of National Assembly. It is unthinkable in the 8th National Assembly. This is what I've seen. So, another opportunity beckons on Nigeria. Elect people that are credible to National Assembly. Elect people that will stand their ground to National Assembly. Because the National Assembly is, all organs of government are important, but National Assembly is the most important organ of government. That's why I say people who are struggling to be presidents of Nigeria should have just come to the National Assembly, because they have a lot of work to do. If we get the National Assembly right, we'll get the executive right. But no matter how you have a good executive, if the National Assembly is bad, we'll not be able to achieve what we want to achieve.
Distinguished Senator Sheikh Hussaini, many thanks for your insights and thoughts. You're grateful.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that concludes this edition of the program. We expect the legislators to be back next week at the hallowed chambers for full resumption of legislative business. We will, of course, keep you abreast of all happenings. Till then, thank you for watching this episode and see you next week. I am Dennis Adigunloye.